Hello.
Good afternoon or good high noon to you, kind sir.
Yeah, we're a little later in the day than usual, but
Oh, that's right. It's 1 o'clock out there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, but yes, it is Memorial Day, and so we're back at it. How's your Memorial Day been? You're
Good
3 o'clock out
good
there.
to see you, Nick. Good to see you.
Good to see
Well,
you.
I put on Facebook today. I said, on this Memorial Day, I tip my hat to those sailors, soldiers, and Marines who fought to save our country from the sort of authoritarian regime that Donald Trump is installing in the United States.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just kind of an irony.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I saw something that just kind of it had me tune out social media, and it was something along the lines of I don't know, some post of Trump on his Truth Social or something, and the message was all about hate. Honestly,
Yeah,
that's
it
what I
was
got.
a happy Memorial Day to all the scum, and then he
Scum.
took it from there.
Yeah. Uh, uh, yeah. I'm sorry. Just I can't respect that. It
Why
really,
can't you?
yeah. Right. I just can't. I can't respect that, and I don't know. I don't know anybody who should be tolerating and respecting that. Whether even the people who are of his base and of his um, alignment and views have to be just. I don't know. Yeah, that's frustrating. So
It's dark and ugly.
it is. Yeah. So
But
I
meanwhile, I had a beautiful walk in a nature preserve yesterday, and a beautiful walk around my neighborhood today. I
nice.
I slept in. I won 2 chess games.
Where
What
did you
else?
play?
Oh, I go online. I play a
Oh,
game almost every day.
okay.
Yeah, and uh, I was been playing against bots for the
Yeah.
last 3 or 4 years, and I've gotten really good on puzzles to the extent that I'm now considered an expert on
Nice.
puzzles. High end,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I thought I should play against actual people. So against bot, then rather than against bot. So I played 7 games and won 5.
Okay.
But against people that have kind of low ratings, but that's fine.
Well,
We're just supposed to have fun, right?
yeah, you're all in the same camp building ratings, and eventually you'll be matching with people who are where you're at. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
It's all about fun.
Yeah.
All about fun. And there will be some bourbon later.
Oh yeah.
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 No, no, no. Scotch, scotch,
Oh
scotch.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. I like this scotch called Balvenie.
Balvenie, huh?
Yeah. Oh, it's expensive, but you know.
It's
And
a
how have you
refreshing.
been?
I've been good. I've been good. We've been busy. Just finally wrapped up. Well, really, for the most part, wrapped up my daughter's soccer season. So, um, now she's on to a new team that she'll start some, pretty optional practices for the summer for a while. Um, and yeah, so she'll be with her new team from now on. So it's kind of bittersweet. She's made some really good friendships that are she'll unfortunately never get to play with just based on age and grade breakdowns of how things will work out. So, um, she's kind of ready to move on, but she's also hanging on to some of those friendships and um, kind of more.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, yeah. So we're we're happy that we're a little less busy, but we just looked at our her calendar of camps and sports things, and she's got a full June basically all the way up till 4th of July. There's not a week she doesn't have something going on with some sort of camp or some sort of 3-on-3 weekend basketball tournament, and so It doesn't
Wow.
it doesn't end.
You are deep
So,
into it, my friend. You're
yeah.
deep into it. Now, are your wife and the two daughters, are they all in the house right now as we're having this?
Yeah. Yeah, my both my daughters, each of them have a friend over right now. They're hanging out playing, and then my wife, she's out doing some gardening. So she's working on
Uh,
some planters. We've been doing a lot of weeding for the last few days, and now she's getting to plant some floral arrangements in some pots and barrels that we have that she cleared out the weeds in. So
I love it.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah. Speaking of gardening, garden of healing, garden of what do we have going on? Oh, look at that! Wow, they
Check
really
that out.
those little babies really grew up.
And this is the last time that you'll be seeing this in this rectangle.
Okay, all right,
Well, we have it in a pot outside starting
nice,
probably tomorrow.
cool. Yeah,
And there's also a tomato plant that's equally coming along. So I'll have two pots side by side. Out, I've got the garden too, where I have peas,
yeah.
radishes, and peppers, green and yellow and red
Oh,
peppers.
do you guys? We love trying peppers, but we never get them. We get them to start, but we never get them to really be beautiful
Oh,
and regular. We struggle with them out here in this area. I don't know why, but
okay. And I misspoke. I had the peppers in mind to plant,
uh huh.
and at the last minute, I changed my mind. So I don't have them in there. I have peas, radishes, and zucchini
We do a
with
lot
the
of zucchini.
tomato plant and the snapdragon plant.
Okay, yeah, we didn't get peas, but we do, and I like getting peas, and I think we will because we got some
Mhm.
nice trellises that are metal artwork trellises that we will use. Um, but yeah,
Cool.
we have zucchini, crooked neck squash, and some cherry tomatoes, and then that's mostly what we're gonna just kind of stick with. Kind of the things that we've been successful with mostly. I think we got a few strawberry plants we'll try again. Um, we've just put them in barrels because we don't want them to take over, and plus our dogs will eat them all and not let us get any if we leave them in kind of in ground beds and stuff. So we end up putting them in barrels or something that we can elevate so the dogs don't eat all the berries. But
Beautiful. Well, now you and I were talking on the green room, in the
mhm.
green room, and I'd like to bring it forward to the viewers. Last week's episode,
Yeah,
a mere 17 people were able to see it before Sony Musical Entertainment pulled it
yeah,
2 weeks ago because our Johnny Cash cover of a what's that guy's name?
old lump of coal,
Yeah, old lump of
live
coal.
live
Billy
performance.
Joe Shaver.
Billy,
Billy
okay,
Joe Shaver,
yeah. Hmm.
Texan songwriter. That was pulled. That that offended Sony Musical Entertainment. We
Well,
threatened the empire.
yeah,
We
a lot
threatened
of
the
the
empire.
I think a lot of it is YouTube being using their algorithms or probably some AI as well in there to kind of identify things um, and doing it preemptively. So we'll see. I submitted a request to allow use of it, and they say sure, go ahead, then great. But if not, then
Yeah,
we'll extract it out and make that video available for our viewers.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd hold off on submitting music until that's clarified, but I will mention if people want to look up our song of the day today, which we won't play on air because of Sony Music and YouTube, but a beautiful song that I loved maybe more than 20 years ago, 22, 23 years ago.
Yeah.
It's called The Junkie Song by The Be Good Tanyas.
Mm,
Um, I uh, went through a divorce. It was painful and was kind of in rough shape emotionally.
okay.
Uh, and I found the Be Good Tanyas, their first album, Blue Horse, um, really, really helped me. It was like a lifeline. The sensitivity that they put together and a beautiful sound. And then their second album, I forget, it's China something, um, had numerous great songs, but in particular, Junkie Song. Um, you know, it's just she's in Vancouver and she's seeing all these homeless people.
Uh-huh.
And she's thinking to herself, she said, I could easily be here. I could easily be here. 2 a.m. by the SkyTrain station. And there's all these people here, and we're all human. And what can I do to help all these people? It's a really hauntingly beautiful song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
So
put that.
people that are watching this can um, look it up,
Yeah.
you know, on
Okay.
Spotify or whatever.
There we go. Junkie
Junkie Song
song.
by the Be Good Times.
Be good,
Yeah.
Tanya's.
And interestingly, Nick, I have developed a friendly acquaintance with one of the Be Good Tanyas.
Oh yeah. Huh.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it's kind of a tragic tale, uh, in the sense that her music career was um, blossoming,
Oh, okay.
and she was uh, sitting in a pickup truck with a friend, and she was hit from behind by a car that was going full
Mm.
speed, and she severe injuries
Oh,
all over her body. And then she was in another car accident about 6 months later.
wow.
And she is sort of, she's, up and performing and that, but she just doesn't have the same energy.
Yeah, I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. Yeah.
Um, and she
That's
had to
tough.
have brain surgery.
Okay. Yeah.
Samantha Parton. She's wonderful, very quiet and gentle person, as far as I can tell, talking to her on.
Yeah.
I used to talk to her on Twitter, and now I talk to her on Blue Sky.
Okay.
But people can look up
Yeah.
that beautiful song, and that's our way of getting around.
Yeah. I think you know, uh we've been good with the clips that we played, or even the shares of some of our other stuff. But there's a lot of Johnny Cash is very. Uh, I mean, anytime you hit some of the big names, they're gonna automatically kind of protect
So
that.
that's a big part of it, huh? There's sort of a line between.
Yeah, and I think some of the stuff we've also played. I mean, the Johnny Cash thing, that was a performance from 1979, but a lot of stuff has been. There's been a lot of other things that we've shared or played which have had a lot of fair use exemptions made out there. Um, and it's on. The irony of it is, if you and I were to sing, God forbid, Johnny Cash,
Yeah,
we would be fine, which is which is
I'm just an old lump of coal,
right.
but I'm gonna be a diamond someday.
Right. Well,
There
and
you
that's
go.
the
That's
other thing
the
too. I mean, it's not even his song, so it was just his performance of that song. Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway,
Uh,
questionable usage stuff. But anyway, so yeah, I'm guessing the label for the Be Good Tanya's probably would not trigger some sort of YouTube algorithm concerns, but
Right.
it's all good. So people can check that out. I will definitely be checking it out. I was actually looking at the lyrics on my other screen here for it, which
Oh,
um, was interesting because you had mentioned really a reflection of seeing the streets of junkies and homeless, um, and I and what am I supposed to do? There are too many of you, too many of you. Um, I too am human. You could easily be here, easily be here, and that's yeah, that's very so true. Um,
it's and Frazee Ford is the vocalist, and
yeah,
she is one of the finest voices I've ever heard.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Hover between apathy and compassion. That's so true. Um,
isn't it?
yeah, that reminds me. I've talked about in the past. My daughter, um, my younger daughter, she was finally like, we keep talking about getting, kind of like a brown paper bag, goodies and
Yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so she this week we put together some bags to have in the car. There's a there's a pair of socks, some water, and some chips and some snacks in each
If you
bag.
see a homeless person,
And so we keep a few of them in the car. So if we see someone at an intersection or passing through, she has those to hand out. But yeah, she kept asking for a while. And so this week I actually went to use the box of chips, little personal bags of chips, to make some lunch for her. And her wife's like, oh, no, no, no. Those are for her bags for homeless. I was like, oh, okay. And then
love it.
I saw the rest of the stuff. There were some socks and case of water that they got. And so, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
But,
I
but
love it.
yeah, I mean, and what am I supposed to do? There are too many of you. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. So you can enjoy that yourself when you
yeah.
when it's
I'm
over.
gonna check it out.
All right, now to adjourn to our topic for today. Do you want to do that? Of
Yeah.
course, this is all part of the topic, right?
Right.
Yeah. Um, but I'm going on to now to
Combining.
by Nora Bateson. Hey, I sent you a um, video
Did you?
in the last week. Yeah, a
Oh,
30
okay.
minute conversation with her.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, anyway, you can watch it some other time.
yeah.
Um, so, uh, in the context, I'm encountering Nora Bateson's thought world
Mm-hmm.
and her contribution to our culture and society, which is pretty original and borderline visionary, if not downright visionary,
Yeah.
in the midst of a dark time in our country.
Mm-hmm.
Are you following this big, beautiful bill, as they're calling it?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I need to be doing more to follow it, but it's over 1,000 pages, and
Right.
what's
Well, people are
really hard
breaking it.
with 1,000 pages is that I want to know that I'm fairly receiving and processing the truth about what is in it versus hearsay or minimalizing on one side or sensationalizing on another. Like I want to make sure that I'm actually getting good information out of it. Because I'm not going to sit and read 1,000 page bill, which is written in a way for most people to not really know what they're like. Wait, what am I reading here? How am I supposed to interpret that? Like, it's not in my wheelhouse of
Yeah,
legalese, you know?
it's just that Robert Reich. Do you know who he is?
Okay, yeah, I know of, not
Yeah, in the
He's my
Clinton
favorite.
administration,
Yeah.
and he's continued to be a strong, outspoken voice, as is currently serving American Senator, what's his name, Chris Murphy, out of
Okay.
Kentucky, out of Connecticut. The two of them have sounded the alarm about what's in this bill.
Yeah.
For what it the amount of credibility that you want to put in is your own choice. For
Hmm.
me, Robert Reich has been for the last several years one of my go-to um, interpreters of what's going on.
Okay.
Uh, Brilliant guy, and sounding the alarm alarmingly,
Yeah.
that this bill will, you know, it says that the president is free to ignore
Yeah.
judicial injunctions.
Yeah. That was, I think, what we are hearing a lot about is, the usual, um, gutting Medicaid, uh, you know,
Snap.
and SNAP and all these, good social programs, and extending tax cuts for the rich. I mean, that's what we all hear about as far as, the biggest, criticisms of this, and challenges we face. But yeah, to your point, I definitely want to hear more about that, because and that was where I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Somewhere in this bill is basically saying, all the removing all the protections and all the things that would allow us to have fair elections, to have, um, you know uh,
Right.
challenge the authority, and have the three branches of government. um, and that's where I'm like, okay, am I being are we is this in here? Because I'm not going to read it and find it. But I really want to know. And so, yeah, that's, to hear you kind of mentioning that Robert Reich, is also sounding
Yeah,
that.
and I read an alarming piece by Chris Murphy, the senator out of Connecticut, who's really stepped up to be one of the major leaders of the resistance.
Hmm.
Um, he's really great. But for instance, one of the things is I live um, a mere 10 miles from Lake Michigan. Okay,
Yeah.
and there is a Great Lakes water processing operation that keeps the drinking water clean for all inhabitants near any of the Great Lakes,
Yeah.
like Michigan, Ontario, Huron, Superior, and the Erie.
Uh-huh.
Um, they're going to stop funding that.
Mm.
And the fact that they want to take away PBS, they want to take away NPR,
Yeah.
and there's another piece of legislation that wants to take away women's right to vote if they don't have uh, I think it's like an ID, a current ID that has their maiden name on it.
Interesting. So their reflects their birth certificate name. Yeah.
Right. That would
Uh,
take away the right to vote from a lot of women. So I'm coming at Nora Bateson with a background of grief. I mean, I truly, truly have grief that we are now. I mean, I remember in the late 70s through, oh, early 90s, uh, formative years of my life, 15-year stretch,
yeah.
having a feeling that America was getting better,
Mm.
that we were progressing towards more human rights.
Yeah.
Sexism and racism were something that we were, generally speaking, um,
Right.
trying to address homophobia, etc. There was a sense of expanding
Yeah.
human rights, and now I just have a sense of things collapsing and dying. And
Right.
it's like, what do we do? How is this happening? And um, dear Nora Bateson is coming up with some really good stuff.
Yeah.
I've got a poem for you by her,
Okay.
which is one way of summarizing what she is saying, and then I'll talk to you and to our viewers, our two viewers. Hello, two viewers. Um, what she's been saying in this book. It was a 30-minute interview with her in which she summarized what's in this book.
Okay.
But this is called simothecy, and that's a word that she invented along with athanopoesis. Why invent words? It's to express realities that she sees. Um, and here it is. This is a really beautiful thing to meditate on while we're trying to think, what can I do?
Hmm.
Each one of us is a crooked tree, reaching for water and light, bending ourselves around obstacles, scary thoughts, hurtful moments, darkness and thirst, finding a way to breathe in the sun and hold the soil. Our branches are kinked and twisted because that is what it took to be here. The ways of learning to be in our worlds have shaped responses. Our many experiences are speaking through every gesture. Our loves, broken paths, a tenderness, a criticism, learning always, yearning always in crooked beauty. To be a home for those who may find comfort in the asymmetry of our belonging. A nest cradling new life, tucked into an old log teeming with creatures, learning to be in each other's reshaping. Do you have a reaction? Yeah, I can tell you have a reaction.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still some of the imagery. I'm just kind of. I like to imagine myself, So I'm this crooked tree, and on the one hand, so much opportunity, potential, ability to thrive, and yet clearly there are struggles that some we can avoid, some we can't avoid, and then those that are just there and kind of part in shaping us. Yeah, yeah, just an interesting way of thinking about it. There's a way of being, and
I just love, and now I've closed it.
oh,
Um, I just love how she thinks of us all as this is how we had to adapt
yeah,
to make our way with being here on this earth.
right,
You know,
yeah,
um, since I read that, I found it again. Since I read that,
Mm.
It's impacting the way I'm viewing people. Like I go up to what do they call those people that give you coffee?
A barista?
That's those. Um, I will go up to a barista and I look at her, and blue hair, and it says she, her on her name tag, and et cetera. And I think to myself, this is what's the word? Because that is what it took to be here. The ways of learning to be in our worlds have shaped our responses. Our many experiences are speaking through every gesture.
Yeah.
Our loves, broken paths, a tenderness, a criticism, learning always, yearning always in crooked beauty.
Mm.
To be a home for those who may find comfort in the asymmetry of our belonging. A nest cradling new life, tucked into an old log teeming with creatures, learning to be in each other's reshaping.
Yeah.
And so, another thing that she brings up, another expression is a way to think about how to be in the world is um, who can you be when you're with me?
Right.
You know, so here I am talking to you. Who do I allow you to be, Nick,
Yeah.
when you're with me? Same with Mary, same with my friends, same with my daughter, same with my grandchildren, same with
Mhm.
all the people that I'm serving as I'm driving them in the car in that
Right.
job of mine. Who can you be when you're with me?
Hmm.
Do I allow you to be yourself?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about an interaction this weekend with my neighbors across the street. Um, I have talked about the displaying of
Yeah,
our flag,
yeah.
and I have
The
mentioned that.
American flag and the gay rights flag.
Right, and so of course, it's been a few months, inclement weather, things that just didn't really contribute well. And if I'm being honest, a sense of not being proud of where we are in America at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but you know, because it's Memorial Day, and in honor of our service members that we've lost, um, that was significant enough to me where it's like, yes, I cannot be proud of America and where we are today, right now, in this socio-political climate, um, to the point where I don't know if I want to make that effort to prominently display the flag in my nice flagpole. But I did go out and put it up, and my neighbors across the street commented and was like, "Oh, nice to see that you got the your flag back up, and it's really really nice to see that." And they were talking about how they just came back from a trip, and I know for pretty well for a fact how conservative leaning, Republican leaning. I'm not going to say that they're out there with like any Trump support signs or anything like that, but um, he is their representative, and they don't have any sense of shame about him representing them. Um, and they just got back from a trip to Europe, and they mentioned how they were received in Spain. They mentioned how they were received in Greece. In Greece, does the Greek folks didn't seem to like Americans. We're not a big, didn't seem to support tourists very much. But Spain really embraced the Americans and the tourism with Americans there. They lean into it fully. And then they also mentioned, but we did leave Europe a day before they announced the new 50% European tariffs. um, and I said, that is a big concern I have about anti-American sentiment abroad right now. And I said, and I'm worried about what that means for the investments that American is making in sport in the next 4 years, with the World Cup being hosted in the US, with the Olympics being hosted in the US, all during this presidency. Um, and that's a global stage where, you know, I don't. I hope that we can get to a place of having better American global sentiment, but I don't know how we get there. Um, so back to the point of being allowing you to be who you are. I shared a little bit of this, and I felt like they were eager to navigate away from that conversation, and they use things like, yeah, everybody just needs to learn how to play nice. Everybody. So on the one hand, I'm like, okay, at least you're recognizing there's a disharmony here, and you're saying everybody needs to learn how to play nice. But there's also is sort of a unwillingness to say, hey, yeah, Trump's making it difficult for us and for people in America right now. Um, but to your point, am I not allowing? Is my views, my where I stand, um, putting them in a situation of walking on eggshells, not being who they really are? Um, me kind of not calling it out blatantly like I would with some of my closer confidant, circle of people. Are we kind of just placating one another? Um, but yeah, so when you say who are you, am I allowing you to be, or what's allowed? Um, and that's interesting because I think there's a sense of we may not agree, but let's find a way to be civilized, and maybe you think more about what common ground is, but then at the same time that may mean not being truly who each of us want to be. um,
Isn't that an interesting dilemma?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess what I think about that is that's what it means to be a part of an advanced social based society, is to in public, in communities and everything, we do have to coexist, we do have to get along, we do have to make room for one another, but that room doesn't necessarily need to be you know uncivil, or suffocating, or anything like that. So what is the right amount of room for each other to be who we are?
Yeah. It's really, we're all in process of answering that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah. I, I think about that too. And when dealing with the same subject. Um, at this point, people who are still supporting Trump uh, in 2025, after he's been in our face for 9 years, um, they're either, I see Trump as being deeply corrupt and a sociopath. So they're either radically ill informed, which is a bad choice at this point,
hmm
or they themselves appreciate and like dysfunction or sociopath and cruelty.
yeah.
So, still,
Well,
in
and
dealing with a person that supports Trump, I feel like I can, on topics other than politics, like the way that you're decorating your yard,
yeah.
or the way that you're parenting
Yeah.
or thinking about a career. Well, Cat Roberts, to allow someone to be themselves does not mean we have to overexpose ourselves. Hey, by the way, good to hear from you, Cat. How nice. I didn't know you were listening. To allow someone to be themselves does not mean we have to overexpose ourselves to the darkness that
Hmm.
seeks to overwhelm us, in
Yeah.
my opinion. To
Well,
allow someone to be themselves does not mean we have to overexpose ourselves to the
yeah,
darkness. Nice.
I like that.
I do too.
Said. Well said.
Good to hear from you, Kat.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and that's you bring up a good point of
Who does,
where we
Kat or
are.
me?
Oh, well, both, but as far as at this point, 9 years or whatnot, in this, of having Trump in our face, and inserting himself into so many aspects of American life right now. Um, it's hard because what what level of cognitive dissonance must there be to um, is it just a general mistrust of what the other side says, what the media says, that it's like, hey, I don't understand it, because most of it you could just look at his own his own videos, his own social media, and it's not like there's a misconstruing of anything when it comes straight from the horse's mouth from their own sources. um, that's where it's like, wow. I mean, this is not fake news, fake media. What's being put out there is straight from straight from himself and his own accounts. So
By the way, that just as an aside, you mentioned how he has this 50% tariff on the European Union.
yeah,
He announced either last night or this morning that he's not going to do it.
again, market manipulation. I mean, I don't know how much more obvious that needs to get before
Right.
you know.
That's what I'm saying. All
Yeah.
right.
So all right, yes,
I'm
back
going
to
to move on.
neurobates combining.
What'd you
Yeah.
say?
Oh, so back to the matter at hand. Yes, thank you.
Yes. So here's um, what she's talking about, and we're already 43 minutes in. So she's talking about this other thing called athanapoesis, and it's really interesting. It's really interesting. It's um, okay. I'm going to read to you what she says because she says it better than I do. But I'll
Okay.
just say this: the impact of it has been over the last 2 weeks as I'm studying this and reading. And she's a hard writer to grok
Yeah.
because she uses a lot of fancy words like athanaponesis. Um, but it's impacted my mind in the sense of I'm thinking about social issues like what we're talking about, mental health stuff, bullying, school shooting, um, other things. And I think to myself, she uses the word insidious. That has been brewing insidiously for 50 years. And the problem that we have now is the outcome of the brewing. And the solution will be the result of brewing good practices for 50 years. Oh, you're thinking that are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was, yeah, picking up on a
You're
few things.
thinking that
You're
takes too long.
good. No, you're good.
But we can do, yeah, I'm just anticipating the thought that takes too long. We can do temporary measures as well. But
yeah.
the true, she writes, ecology, We do not receive ecology well because we have been trained to detect and notice a particular kind of pattern. Those patterns derive from a factory metaphor, mechanistic causality. What's the word? Um, oh, we're born into a world of efficiencies, operations, and categories. Instead, if we want to be functioning on a higher ground, organisms are changing each other as they learn to be together, which is why I read that poem.
Mm.
Ongoing, ever shifting. So, what are we noticing? Ecology used as a noun, mechanistic causality. Is it a factory or is it a forest? Our ecology, our it's not just the natural world, but our ecology of how we are together as a society.
Mm-hmm.
Are we a factory or are we a forest? Then she talks about basically life. This thing is moving, it's responding, shaping, calibrating, learning, and morphing. And then I put a big, huge asterisk next to this. Every organism is responding at all times to every other organism, communing.
Yeah.
Every organism is responding at all times to every other organism, communing. And then comes the question, who am I when I'm with you? Who can you be when you're with me?
Mm.
So am I communing with a person? And
Right.
maybe they are, let's say they're embracing a violent approach to life. Is there some aspect of them that I can still connect to?
Yeah.
She says the way to see the world, I guess, is the thing, is as a delicate moving and an interdependence. Family is an ecology. A forest is is an ecology. A hospital, a body, a business, a meadow. Then she says the wrong definition of ecology is a pattern of patterns that are interdependent. I think that's in Merriam-Webster or Oxford. A pattern of patterns that are interdependent. She says that's wrong because it's static.
Mm.
But rhythms and resonances of life are not static. Here's one of her big words, athanapoesis. What makes change possible? The invisible causes of positive change. And she used the word visible, but later she corrects herself and says they're not so much that they're invisible, but that they're unseen. They're out there for us to see, but we haven't been trained to see them.
Yeah. Hmm. Uh, that's such a, that is a really complicated word, isn't it?
Yeah. How things change. We is to. She talks about ecology and mechanism. Ecology leads to genetics, to respect, and to awe, and it's how things change. Mechanism, thinking of things of, oh, well, there's a problem here. Let's put a solution into it. We can just get five smart people together in a weekend and they'll come up with a solution.
Yeah.
It leads to eugenics, she says, the study of how you can make it change. So she's calling forth in me all this fancy language that we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to hear. We've got two people viewing. One of them is Cat. The other one's either Cat's Up or what does my friend call herself? Black Raven.
Mm.
Um, anyway, what is calling forth in me is really an understanding of So you and I were talking about our garden,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, what's going on with the garden is it's in a yard that has earthworms,
Hmm.
soil, has grass, has neighbors on either side of us,
Yeah.
has climate, has rainfall, has sun,
Yeah.
um, has day and night, has cold and hot.
Hmm.
All of it is co-arising together in a wonderful display. And our appreciation of that and deciding to enter into it with reverence and awe
Right.
and respect and communion can be part of cultivating forces that will emerge.
Right.
Right now, we're submerging them into truly powerful um, ecological living. Do I sound crazy?
No, no.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like I kind of do, but that's okay.
uh, it's a it's a hard conceptual leap
Ah,
to go
yes, that it is.
from that little micro ecosystem that you describe, but at the same time that is being repeated in trillions of additional places near and far from where you're describing of your yard and my yard, right?
Yes.
So, and then it's this, I mean, it's more than just a phenomenon. It's more of a natural law. And what I'm thinking of when I come across that, and if we apply that to this idea of athanopoiesis, and I think where you've seen me thinking is, being in the medical background, when I think of poiesis, I'm reminded of erythropoiesis, which is the creation and production of red blood cells. Um, and um, but the idea is that there's stimulus there, such as all of the things that you described. There's stimulus, there's environment, there's you know things that augment the process and influence it, whether for better or worse, that shift it, just like the tree that we were talking about shaping in that poem. um, and it also makes me wonder, if we sit and look at the wonder of and beauty of the human process, this human existence, what a blip on the time scale macro, this current time we live in socio-political. And I think what that makes me believe in is that there is, yes, the environment, the factors that are shaping it right now that have an influence, and then there's also sort of a natural law of, this is such a small scale or micro system in the global linear time scale. All of it, it's such a small moment in all of it, that I have to believe that it will be the exception, not the norm, not to be replicated. It's like when you think about just your thinning of, okay, you did 8 starts of this plant, and you're like, well, I don't need 8 zucchini plants. But I do think I can manage 3 or 4, because they're going to get big. I'm going to get a lot of yield. I probably won't eat all of it if I have too many. This one's not looking very healthy. Well, in this little micro season of humanity in American, life. Um, this is just one not well developed seedling or startup that may not be accepted and cultivated based on American acceptance, looking back on this, on how things worked, the global scale. Anyway, it really got me thinking about not to make it seem like it's such a minuscule, meaningless, trivial thing right now, but also I kind of have to think that way in order to have hope. Like this is not the way, this is not the order, this is not going to age well. You know, yeah, we'll probably repeat this mistake again. Just like we probably said back in 1940s that, oh, never again, we'll learn from this mistake. Yet we will make that mistake to some scale or degree again. Um, so, uh, but it's also, it is it is a problem that has roots in, again, not just in our backyard, but in the backyard of Russia, in the backyard of China, or Korea. And if you get enough of it to happen in many backyards, and that becomes sort of the normal, natural phenomenon, or the accepted norm. And hopefully that doesn't become the case. So, yeah.
Yes, 100%. I'm reminded of a movie that I watched long ago, 35 years ago. Yeah, 44 years ago.
Oh,
I'm just trying to think about it. Yeah, 44 years ago. Gandhi.
okay.
Do you know of it?
I know of it. I don't think I watched it.
Yeah.
um,
I saw it 3 times. I saw it once in America. Then I watched
okay.
it in India, and they had an extra added scene. It was very interesting to see that there was an
Mm,
added scene in India. And then I watched it again. And the reason why I bring it up is that World War II was raging,
mm,
and Gandhi um, was um, in his little ashram in India, in the remote place, and he was weaving things. He had a is it weaving? I think it's weaving. He had one of those spinning wheels. He was weaving cotton things, I think is what it was. And he was just sitting there at night, meditating, weaving things with his spinning wheel,
mm-hmm.
and living his vegetarian, peaceful life. And people are like, "How? This is so irrelevant,"
Yeah.
you know? And he's like, "Is the madness of the West relevant?"
Yeah.
you know, he was just living his life, um, no matter what, no matter if it was relevant or not. Um, he was just making his contribution, and it
Yeah.
turned out to be a powerful contribution. He threw England off of their authority in India.
Mm-hmm.
So it turned out not to be just minuscule.
Right. I
Yeah,
had to look
so
it up because I was like, I know I've watched a Gandhi movie before, and I didn't think it was that old. Um, so I was like, okay, well, the one I watched had Ben Kingsley, and that's the
that's it.
one from 1982. So I was like,
Yeah,
I guess that's
82 what
fine.
was?
But yeah, it's 1982. But
43
yeah,
years ago. Okay.
and it had had Martin Sheen, Daniel Day Lewis, Ben Kingsley, Candice Bergen. Yeah.
Daniel
I remember it
Day-Lewis was
being like a
there?
pretty big Hollywood cast. That's why I was like, oh, I don't know if I watched something that old, but yeah, 1982. So, uh,
Yeah,
but yeah, I did watch that one. I just didn't. I
yeah.
thought I watched it I watched it in like the late '90s, early 2000s, so I thought it
Yeah,
came
yeah,
out then. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, no, but you're right. Like he's doing that, and you're like, well, what is this doing for the movement? What is this? Um, and to that point, sometimes it is about those little acts of individual cultivation. It is you know a, a private or a personal one-on-one conversation with your friend, although in this case it's socialized on YouTube. It's tending to your tomato plant and your flowers that were planted, or it's reading a poem. um, yeah.
There you go. Snapdragons for peace.
Snapdragons for peace, I love that. All right. Well, yeah, very. I'm gonna rewatch that because I do remember enjoying it, even though it was an older movie. So, um, although I don't know, I got to carve out some time. It's 3 hours and 11 minutes. I didn't remember it being
Look
that
at you
long.
looking that up. Aren't you efficient? So
Yeah.
here's the added scene. It deified Gandhi, so they showed it in India and they didn't show it in America.
Hmm.
Uh, where he goes down to a river to wash himself, and he sees
Hmm.
a woman who is a beggar out there, and she's shocked and embarrassed because she's topless, you know, and she's an untouchable. I'm not sure if they say that in the movie, but you figure it out. Um, in the caste system, be aware that two different types of pepper plants that are planted beside each other can and often do exchange properties, influencing each
Influence
other,
each
creating
other.
another type of pepper. Well, thank you.
That's good to know. That's
Yeah, absolutely,
so
Cat.
yours are all the same variety, just different colors. Or actually, you decided not to do them. Um,
Yeah,
Perhaps that was my problem. I tried to plant jalapenos and bell peppers one time, and neither one of them did very well. But
well, there you go.
they were just trying to influence and make a different
You
version.
need yeah, exactly. You need a cat to be there, standing there.
Yeah.
So anyway, Gandhi takes his clothes off, or his top off. It's like a shawl, and he puts it on the river, and it floats out to her directly.
Oh.
And she picks it up off the water, and it's dry, and
Oh.
wraps it around herself. That was not available in the West, although who knows? Maybe they've inserted it now.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah. Well.
I'm digging further into our good friend Nora.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not sure how many more episodes of her that we will have. Probably a minimum of 3, because she is a struggle for me because
Yeah.
she's so conceptual. Um, but I think that she's having the good news is that she's having an impact on what I'm seeing and experiencing in my day to day living.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think there's any rush. I
Yeah,
think
no
is
rush.
I think what where we talk about and what is most important of all is integrating. So if it's a bite-sized chunk that you can integrate here and there and bring back to share, then we will continue to share that. I find that whatever you usually share from her is incredibly thought-provoking and challenging, even in the moment of hearing about it, to wrap my head around. But
Well, you do a great job of reacting to it.
well, thank you. And I think
You're
our
welcome.
people who view, I assume and I hope that it does stimulate something, um, something thoughtful, something worth meditating on, something worth considering even, like you did with your baristas. So, yeah.
Amen.
Well, good
Okay.
deal.
Well, it's time for us to get on with our day, right?
That's right. Thank you for
I'm going to the
spending.
backyard grill, and I'm going to crack open either a beer or a glass of scotch.
There you go. The scotch sounds good. Yeah, maybe I will have a beer. But we are gonna do a little cooking. We're a little ways out for 3 more hours for our dinner. But um,
That's right. Yeah.
thank you all for tuning in, joining us on Memorial Day, and thank you for all of our service members who gave the greatest sacrifice. So yeah.
Absolutely.
So and
Absolutely.
yeah, and being any and everybody who's part of our combining journey today. So thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace. All right. Bye bye.